Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Excuse me. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday. I know you've heard the earlier incident today over here in Florida, South Florida, where there was a second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. They caught the individual. His name is Ryan Ruth, Routh. From Hawaii. They're still investigating, but it seems like his profiles on X or Twitter, Facebook, and I think he has an Instagram. It seems to me like he's a MK Ultra mind control type person. He was doing stuff in Ukraine, I guess trying to get soldiers to go to Ukraine and fight for Ukraine. All this craziness. So I'm sure if you haven't seen it, you'll see it tomorrow all over X. I think Facebook has scrubbed his Facebook account. He does have a LinkedIn. I saw his LinkedIn. I saw the Facebook, the LinkedIn, and the X account prior to any scrub. So yeah, his whole thing is fighting for Ukraine. He was all over the place with who he supported. And he had a business or has a business in Hawaii. I think the business was creating small homes or something to that effect. They scrubbed that today. I saw it before they scrubbed it. Took screenshots. But anyway, so yeah, a second attempt on Trump's life again. And I think that people need to recognize that what's happening now is that the media has given a go since 2016 for violence. And they'll blame, the Republicans or MAGA, which is not true. If you look at all the media outlets, every pundit, they were calling for violence all the way back to 2016, even before Trump came into office, and that's when it really started. The fiery but peaceful actions were acceptable to the mainstream and to politicians that were left leaning because it was their people doing it, and this is where we're at. Two attempts of assassination on President Trump, and then you have people targeting not assassination attempts, but verbally targeting RFK Jr. And the media thinks just because he has a particular view that that's acceptable. And none of this is acceptable. It doesn't matter which side you're on. None of it is acceptable. So I just wanted to say that. I'm sure you guys are going to see the news. They're going to have to report it again. Second attempt on Trump. This should be a more in-depth investigation because of the fact that this guy was actually being helped somehow go to Ukraine and fight for Ukraine as a mercenary. So The investigation must be a deep investigation to find out that part of this whole situation. All right, so tonight we're going to get into, wait, let me go ahead and restart this. We're going to go get into a document that was, it's alleged document that was written by an insider, a scientist that was working on a project called Blue Planet or Blue Planet Project, which was part of the Project Blue Book. He wrote down everything that he was working on. Again, allegedly. This can't be confirmed, but supposedly he was working on projects that were dealing with extraterrestrials, uh, extraterrestrial craft, extraterrestrial exchange of information, technology. Um, let's see. He was documenting his experience in the programs. Uh, let me see if I have this up yet. And then he breaks down all the programs that he worked in. So let me start from the beginning. The project is called Blue Planet Project. And I know that there's a Blue Planet Project website that goes to something completely different. Of course, this is an old document, supposedly. And what tends to happen is people open or organizations or institutions or corporations with similar names. So all you'll see is the mainstream whatever company or institute, which suppresses the real information on the name. This is an alien technical research at Westchester Camp. The office is of Central Research, and this is about alien life forms. And they get into the following document is believed to be the personal notes and scientific diary of a scientist who was contracted by the government over several years to visit all crash sites, interrogate all captured alien life forms, and analyze all data gathered from that endeavor. He also wrote notes on or about any documents which he came in contact with, which in any way related directly or indirectly to the organization, structure, or operation for the collection of such data. This individual was discovered to have kept and maintained such personal notes and therefore was scheduled for termination. He narrowly escaped termination by the government and is currently in hiding out of the country. We believe his involvement in these investigations span over 33 years. There's the number 33. He was soon discovered and immediately went into hiding in 1990. When you read this document, it may disturb you. The real facts have a tendency to do exactly that. But this information needs to get to the general public. I caution you to use your best judgment when allowing a minor child to read this document. At this time, the best of the data we have available, this is the best of the data we have available. There are at least 160 species per the document, 160 species or races of aliens from different galaxies, stars, and planets that we have encountered. You will find as much data as we have available through 1990 on each race in the following pages as each race is discussed. Now, this document is not the full document. There are two parts to this. I think it's supposed to be like 200 plus documents, but I only have right now 114. There's another 100 and something that I have to download, and I'll probably go over that additional 100 tomorrow. They continue. There are still more aliens we haven't encountered yet, but we feel it won't be long before we do. And then it has a disclaimer stating that this document is alleged result of the actions of one or more scientists creating a covert, unauthorized notebook documenting their involvement. It gets into the table of contents. It talks about the invisible government, which they state the US government counterintelligence organized, organizational chart. Then you have the US Space Counterintelligence Headquarter organizational chart. Then you have Operation Majority, the US alien cover up, the top secret magic, or quote unquote magic, excuse me, the magic projects, the magic's contingency plans, the magic's contingency secret weapons against the aliens, information from inside report number 13, other magic alien tips from inside report number 13, the National Security System, or the NSA security system, facts about aliens on Earth, main important UFO crashes under ultra secret cover ups, extraterrestrial classifications, alien presence on Earth, cattle mutilations, general personal observations, human reasons for mutilations, alien reasons for mutilations, black helicopter involvement, the Antarian connection, time and UFOs, crop circles, the crop circle phenomenon, circles affair, the Dulce base. Then he gets into caught in the game, whose planet is this, the secret activity, the R&D and the military industrial complex, surviving the future, the Trans-American Underground Sub-Shuttle System, which is TAUSS, overt and covert research, each base has its own symbol. Inside the Dulce base, the downtown of Dulce, then he goes into the mind manipulation experiments, the better living through biotech, some of the aliens that we know about, US government data from autopsies of aliens, uniterrestrial data, mission skills and assignments, ultra-terrestrial data, intraterrestrial data, meta-terrestrial data, para-terrestrial data, and then those have code names, which I won't mention right now. Then he talks about the grays. He talks about the extraterrestrial EBEs, which are the first EBE. Then there's something called the KRLL, or the krill. These are alien species that he's talking about. The rig aliens, I think it is, or rig aliens, alien bases at Seoul. Then he talks about Project Beta, the study of gray alien psychology, the taxonomy of some extraterrestrial humanoids, the Gray's data from autopsy. They talk about type A, type B, type C. Then there are the aliens that are called the Nordics and their autopsies, the D type, the E type, which are orange's data from autopsies. Then they get into the alien technology, which is the alien crafts with, so listen very carefully, alien crafts with dimensional factors and dimensional origin. The US government and alien technology, I guess the implants that the aliens use, or the SBMCDs, aliens and the electromagnetic spectrum, which I talked a little bit about that the day before yesterday, alien artifacts used for mutilations, their equipment or what supposedly they use, the biological scanner, spray applicator, field reader tube, surgical scalpels, skin grafting lasers, blood attracting device, Then he gets into the U.S. government technology, secret technology, mystery helicopters, surveillance devices, the RPV or the A-Rod, the HAIL, the TRA, XH-75D, alien abductions, the monitoring, and the case for alien abductions. They have the most common areas examined by the aliens. So areas that I guess aliens go to do what they do. Biological specimens, samples that are usually taken from the abductees or the witnesses, and witnesses that are pregnant. So again, we've heard these stories. If you've heard anything about the UFO community and all the experiencers and the individuals that have been taken, they all talk about the aliens come and take samples of the reproductive system. And sometimes they even impregnate women. And quite a few abductees talk about meeting hybrid children because they're not just abducted once, they're repeatedly abducted or repeatedly come in contact with the extraterrestrials. And they always talk about meeting children. They get into the genetic code or our genetic code, the metagene factor, the inculcation devices, and the practice of manipulation of the mind. So they talk about how the aliens can manipulate your mind, which is true. They can project images, they telepathically talk to you, which is where we got our technology. Hold on, guys. They talk about the devices, the bar device, the monitoring devices. Then they get into something called the catecholamine beta lipotropin 9753, whatever that is, rapid inculcation processes. And then they get into the U.S. counterintelligence structure on how to, who is on top and how the order of, I guess, who you speak to in the government. So they get into the organizational chart, which is the President of the United States, the National Security Council, the Director of Intelligence, CIA, uh, the the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, the Bureau of Intelligence and Research, which is in the State Department. Then they get into the National Security Agency, the NSA, and then the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI. And the FBI and the DIA answer to, I think, the Director of the Central Intelligence. I'm not too sure about this chart, but that's what it looks like to me. They talk about control, coordination, control of budgetary resources, and then they get into the Star Wars City. And this is from the Strategic Defense Initiative. This is what supposedly President Reagan started, also known as Spaceship Defense Initiative. So privately, it's known as Spaceship Defense Initiative and the Star Wars Project. And this is in control or under the control of members in Colorado Springs. I'll just leave it at that. Then they get into the chart of the U.S. Space Counterintelligence Headquarters. They talk about the NRO, the President of the United States, the MAGI, MAJI, and of course that goes back to Egypt, the Magi. Then they get into the National Security Council, the NSA, the DIA, the CIA, and then they have something called the Star Wars City, which goes under those agencies, Star Wars City, and then it's the NRO, and then the Air Force Special Academy. And then they talk about 1010 Special Security Squadron, Consolidated Space Operations, Rockwell International, IBM, Lockheed, Boeing, and Martin Marietta, Cayman Industries, Aerojet Electro, Teledyne, Ryan Aeronautical, Ford Aerospace, McDonnell Douglas, Decision Science Applications, Rockefeller, and Fujiyaka. Again, this is all the things that he knows and he's worked, this individual or these individuals worked in. Then they get into the invisible government. Of course, the NSA, the National Security Council, they break down, the when it got started, by whom, and I'll skip all this. Then they get into the Operation Majestic 12, special studies and reports and projects, which was top secret. And then they have a piece here where they talk about the Newsweek article of June 22nd, 1964, where they talk about the quote unquote invisible government. And this is what Newsweek had to say about the invisible government. One of their major revelations is the existence of the Special Group 5412, a hitherto classified adjunct of the National Security Council, specially changed by the president with ruling on special operations. That's Newsweek, 1964. Then they talk about the Committee of 33 or the Committee of 303, the Committee of 40 or the 40 Committee, and then how they're represented, and they're represented with X's. The double X, the double cross. It is described as a directorate of the NSC. The 40 Committee has access to advanced technology and teams to cover up the cover-ups. In the past, this committee was headed by Dr. Henry Kissinger. We all know who Henry Kissinger is. And his code name used to be the Overseer. When he gave William Colby permission to commission Howard Hughes, Summa Corporation, to build a submarine and a special craft or salvage vessel. The salvage vessel, called the Glomar Explorer, was equipped with refrigeration capacity for up to 100 bodies. Why? In early May 1988, the former President Ronald Reagan said he often wonders what would happen if Earth was invaded by a power from outer space. It has also been reported that the president is briefed on UFO developments and alien visitors by Planetary Intelligence Group number 40 PI-40. Again, we all know that Reagan gave that speech at the United Nations where he talks about basically extraterrestrials, how we would come together, the world would come together if there was a threat from outer space or a threat, the alien to Earth. Then they get into the Operation Majority, and there's like a long name. There's a bunch of code names that I won't mention, but it says Operation Majority is the name of an operation responsible for every aspect, project, and all consequences of all alien presence on Earth. I will repeat that again. This particular Operation Majority is responsible for every aspect, project, and consequence of alien presence on Earth. The Majesty or Majesty was listed as the code word for the President of the United States for communications concerning this information. You guys know about Project Grudge. Grudge contains 16 volumes of documented information collected from the beginning of the United States investigation of unidentified flying objects and identified alien craft, the IACs. This project was funded by the CIA, non-appropriated funds, confidential, and money from illicit drug trade. So everybody knows that the CIA was involved in drug trade. They used to bring the drugs to Miami, sometimes through New Orleans and California. The purpose of Project Grudge was to collect all scientific, technological, medical, and intelligence information from UFOs and IAC sightings, as well as contacts with alien life forms. This orderly file of collected information has been used to advance the United States Air Force space program, and it is top secret. The Jason Society, or the quote unquote Jason Scholars, President Eisenhower commissioned a secret society known as the Jason Society. So Eisenhower created this secret society. And the purpose was, under the leadership of the following: the Director of Central Intelligence, Alan Welsh Dulles, or Alan Dulles, uh, Zbigniew Brzezinski, which was president of the Trilateral, Trilateral Commission from 1973 to 76, and Henry Kissinger, the leader of the scientific effort to sift through all the facts, evidence, technology, and lies and deceptions and find the truth of the alien question. The society was made up of 32 of the most prominent men in the USA. The MJ-12 is the name of the secret control group inside the Jason Society. The top 12, quote unquote, 12 members of the 32 members of the Jason Society were designated MJ-12. MJ-12 has total control of everything. They are designated by the code J1, J2, J3, and now we have, I believe, up to J9, J11, J12, J6. So just think about that. J1, J2, J3, J4, J5, J6, J7, J8, all the way through the members of Jason Society. Their director of Central Intelligence was appointed J1 and is the director of the MJ-12 group. MJ-12 is responsible only to the President of the United States. Believe it or not, MJ-12 runs most of the world's illegal drug trade. This was done to hide funding and thus keep the secret from the Congress and the people of the United States. It was justified in that it would identify and eliminate the weak and undesired elements of our society. That's the mentality of these ruling elitists. If you think about it, what you're seeing in the streets today, we've heard this mentioned over and over, that basically, and if you haven't listened to The Order of the New Barbarians, I suggest you do so. It talks about a speech in the early 60s when a doctor gave a conference to other doctors about the coming future and what was going to take place. It says the same thing, that they're bringing all this forward into our society to eliminate the weakest ones among us. They want to get rid of the weakest humans. So this is very on point. They want to eliminate the weak and undesired elements of our society. The actual cost of funding the alien connected projects is higher than anything you can imagine. It was the MJ-12 group who ordered, okay, so now they're getting into the JFK assassination. This, again, this is all alleged. This is all alleged. Nobody can verify these documents. This is alleged. Alleged, alleged, alleged. But it has a lot of codes. It has a lot of names being mentioned. And whoever wrote this, if it's not real, is a really good writer, is what I'm saying. So it was the MJ-12 group who ordered the assassination of President Kennedy when he informed MJ-12 that he was going to tell the public all the facts of the alien presence. He was killed by coup de grace by the Secret Service agent driving his car. I don't believe that's it, but a lot of people say it is. But we know that there was more people involved, and Oswald was the patsy. MJ-12 has a special program for elimination of the considered weak members of the United States society. On a big scale, creation of an artificial disease known as AIDS, quote unquote, accidents of people we know to have been secretly eliminated, disappearances and murder of some people who we know to have been secret eliminations. The above are just a few of the tactics which MJ-12 uses when they consider people dangerous by knowing too much. A secret meeting place was constructed for the MJ-12 group in Maryland and was described as only accessible by air. It contains full living, recreational, and other facilities for the MJ-12 group and the adjacent society. It is codenamed the Country Club. The land of the Country Club was donated by Rockefeller family. Only those with top secret clearance, magic clearance, are allowed to go there. The Magi, MAJI, equals Majority Agency for Joint Intelligence. All information, disinformation, and intelligence is gathered and evaluated by this agency. This agency is responsible for all disinformation and operates in conjunction with the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, and the Office of Naval Intelligence. This is a very powerful organization, and all alien projects are under its control. The Magi is responsible only to MJ-12. The magic is a security classification and clearance of all alien connected material, projects, and information. The magic equals means, Magi controlled. Magi plus controlled equals magic. Again, magic. And I want to remind you that many people that are part of like psychological warfare, like Aquino, which was a member of, he created the Temple of Set. He was an occultist. So many of these people are occultists because of the fact of the influence of the Project Paperclip Nazis that came over. They were all occultists. So, of course, they would use Magi magic. Notes. These are his notes. MJ1 is a classification for the director of the Magi, who is the director of the CIA and reports only to the president. Other members of the Magi are designated Magic 2 or MJ2, MJ3, MJ4, etc. This is why there is some confusion about the references of MJ12, the group, or MJ12, the person. The designation for MJ12, the group, the Magi, or Magic. The designation in official documents about MJ12 means person only. The US's alien cover-up. It seemingly all began thousands of years ago. But for the purpose of this discussion, let's start with some events that we are familiar with. In 1947, 2 years after we set off the first nuclear explosion that our current civilization detonated, came the Cap Mantel episode, where we had the first incident of a military confrontation with extraterrestrials that resulted in the death of a military pilot. It is quite evident now that our government did not know quite how to handle the situation. In 1952, the nation's capital was overflown by a series of discs. It was this event which led to the involvement of the United States security forces, the CIA, the DIA, the NSA, and the FBI, to try and keep the situation under control until they could understand what was happening. And if you haven't seen the images of what they're talking about in 1952, they're talking about the formation of orbs flying in the sky. And then, of course, the Battle of Los Angeles, right? We had the Battle of Los Angeles, which was a real thing, where we were firing at these orbs that we couldn't touch. And then you had them fly over the White House or the Capitol. And there are images still available online that shows you the extraterrestrial or the flying saucers or whatever they were flying over the Capitol. So the FBI to try to keep the situation under control until they could understand what was happening. During this period, the original members of the group were, and he gives names, Secretary James Forrestal, Admiral Roscoe Hillenkotter, General Nathan Twining, General Hoyt Vandenberg, General Robert Montauk, or Montek, Dr. Werner Bush, Dr. Detlev Bronk, Dr. Jerome Hunsaker, Dr. Donald Menzel, Dr. Lloyd V. Berkner, Mr. Sidney Sowers, and Mr. Gordon Gray. This group was a working group established by the government known as MJ-12. The MJ-12 group has been an existing group since it was created, with new members replacing others that died. For example, when Secretary Forrestal was upset at seeing the United States sold out in World War II, he wound up being sent to a naval hospital for emotional strain. We've heard this story before. Before relatives could get to him, supposedly he jumped out a window, a 16-story window. That's how the story goes. Many people believe that he was thrown out by other officials, per witnesses at the hospital. People close to him consider his suicide contrived. When Forrestal died, he was replaced by General Walter B. Smith. In December of 1947, Project Sign was created to acquire as much information as possible about UFOs, their performing characteristics, and their purpose. In order to preserve security, a liaison between Project Sign and MJ-12 was limited to two individuals, and these individuals they were within the intelligence division of the Air Materiel Command, whose role was to pass along certain types of information through channels. Project Sign evolved to Project Grudge. In December of 1948, Project Grudge had an overt civilian counterpart named Project Blue Book, with which we are familiar. Only quote-unquote safe reports were passed to Blue Book. So MJ-12 was originally organized by General George C. Marshall in July of 1947, and he did this to study the Roswell Magdalena UFO crash. This was the crash that recovery and debris. The Admiral Hillenkotter was the director of the CIA from May 1st, 1947 until September 1950. He decided to activate the quote-unquote Robertson Panel, which was designed to monitor civilian UFO study groups that were appearing all over the country. He also joined the NICAP in 1956 and was chosen as a member of its board of directors. It was from this position that he was able to act as a MJ-12 mole, along with his team of other covert experts. They were able to steer NICAP in any direction they wanted to go. With the flying saucer program under complete control of MJ-12 and the physical evidence hidden away, General Marshall felt more at ease with this very bizarre situation. These men and their successors have most successfully kept most of the public fooled for at least 39 years or more, including much of the Western world, by setting up false experts as real experts and throwing their influence behind them to make their plan work, with considerable success until now. Within 6 months of Roswell crash on July 2nd, 1947, and the finding of another crashed UFO at St. Augustine Flats near Magdalena, New Mexico, on July 3rd, 1947, a great deal of reorganization of agencies and shuffling of people took place. The main thrust behind the original security lid, and the very reason for its construction, was the analysis and attempted duplication of the technologies of the disk. The activities headed up by the following groups that were the Research and Development Board, the Air Force Research and Development, the Office of Naval Research, CIA Office of Scientific Intelligence, NSA Office of Scientific Intelligence. No single one of these groups were supposed to know the whole story. Each group was to know only the parts of MJ-12 that MJ-12 allowed them to know. MJ-12 also operates through the various civilian intelligence and investigative groups. The CIA and the FBI are manipulated by MJ-12 to carry out their purpose. The NSA was created in the first place to protect the secret of the recovered flying disc, and eventually got complete control over all communication intelligence. This control allows the NSA to monitor any individual through mail, telephone, telefax, telegrams, and now through online computers, monitoring private and personal communications as they may desire. Then they get into Top Secret Magic, Project Grudge, Project Aquarius, which is classified, declassified, exempt. Project Aquarius or Project Grudge contains 16 volumes of documented information that was collected from the beginning of the United States investigation into UFOs and alien craft. The project was originally established in 1953 by the order of Eisenhower under the control of the CIA and the Magi. In 1960, the project's name was changed from Project Sign to Project Aquarius. The project was funded by the CIA confidential funds. The project assumed full responsibility for investigation and intelligence of UFO and alien craft. After December 1969, when Project Grudge and Blue Book were closed, the purpose of the Project Aquarius was to collect all scientific, technological, medical, and intelligence information from UFO and alien craft. I wonder why they say UFO and alien craft sightings. They distinguish, they separate the two, which is interesting to me. The purpose of the project was to collect scientific, technological, and medical and intelligence from UFO and alien craft sightings and contacts from alien life forms. These orderly files of collected information have been used to advance the U.S. Air Force space program, not NASA. Project Aquarius is a project which compiled the history of alien presence and their interaction with Homo sapiens upon this planet for the last 25,000 years. And it's culminating with the Biscay people, or the País Vasco, who live in the mountainous country on the border of France and Spain. So I guess there's been a lot of contact with aliens from that region. So from Spain, and the Assyrians or the Syrians originally from Syria Star. So they're trying to say that the name Assyria or Syria and the peoples theirs are originally from Sirius the star. This is going to get very interesting soon because they're going to start talking about how we have so many different races on this planet. So the preceding briefing is a historical account of the United States government investigation of aerial phenomenon, recovered alien craft, and contacts with extraterrestrial life forms. The projects under Project Aquarius are Project Plato or Plato, Project Plato, originally established as part of a Project Sign in 1954. Its mission was to establish diplomatic relations with aliens. This project was successful when mutually acceptable terms were agreed upon. These terms involved exchange of technology for secrecy of alien presence and non-interference into alien affairs. Aliens agreed, or extraterrestrials agreed, to provide the Magi with a list of human contacts on periodic basis. So they made an arrangement where the aliens would be communicating with humans, regular everyday humans. I guess this could be abduction or just contact itself. It was arranged with our federal government or our secret government. This project is continuing at a site in New Mexico. 2, Project Sigma, also on same Project Aquarius, originally established as Project Sign, became a separate project in 1976. Its mission was to establish communication with aliens. This project met with positive success. In 1959, the United States established a primitive communications with aliens. On April 25th, 1964, USAF Intelligence Office met with aliens at the Molomar Air Force Base in New Mexico. The contact lasted for approximately 3 hours. After uh, several attempted methods of communications, the intelligence officer managed to exchange basic information with the aliens. This project is continuing at the site in New Mexico. Then you have number three, the Red Light Project, or the Project Red Light, which is under Grudge. Originally established in 1954, its mission was to test and fly recovered alien spacecraft. First attempts resulted in the destruction of the craft and the death of one pilot. This project was resumed in 1972. The project is continuing in Nevada. 4. Project Snowbird. Originally established in 1954, its mission was to develop, using conventional technology, and fly a flying saucer type craft for the public. This project was successful when a craft was built and flown in front of the press. This project was used to explain quote unquote UFO sightings and to divert public's attention from Project Red Light. The magic projects are as follows. 1. Sigma is the project which first established communications with aliens and is still responsible for the communications. Number 2. Plato is the project responsible for diplomatic relations with extraterrestrial and aliens. This project secured a formal treaty illegally or illegal under the U.S. Constitution. This treaty was established with the aliens. The terms were that the aliens would give us, quote unquote, our government, technology, and would not interfere in our history. In return, our government agreed to keep their presence on Earth a secret, not to interfere in any way with their actions, and to allow them to abduct humans and animals. The aliens agreed to furnish MJ-12 with a list of abductees on a periodic basis for governmental control of their experiments with the abductees. Number 3, Project Aquarius. This project, which compiled the history of the alien presence and interaction on Earth and the Homo sapiens. 4, Garnet, Project Garnet, is responsible for control of all information and documents regarding the alien subjects and accountability of their information and documents. Project Pluto is responsible for evaluating all UFO and alien craft information pertaining to space technology. Hold on, guys. 6. Project Pounce. This project was formed to recover all downed or crashed craft and aliens. This project provided cover stories and operations to mask the true endeavor whenever necessary. Covers which have been used were crashed experimental aircraft, construction, mining, etc. This project has been successful and is ongoing. Okay, number 7, the NRO is the National Reconnaissance Organization based in Colorado. It's responsible for security on all alien or alien spacecraft connected to the projects. 8, Project Delta or Delta is a designation for the specific arm of the NRO, which is trained and tasked with the security of all magic projects. It's a security team and task force from the NRO, especially trained to provide alien task projects and Luna Security, which is the code name for the Men in Black. This project is still ongoing. Number 9, Blue Team. Blue Team is the first project responsible for reaction or recovery of downed and or crashed alien craft or aliens. This was a U.S. Air Force Material Command project. 10, Sign, Project Sign. This project, the second project, is responsible for collection of intelligence and determining whether the alien presence constitutes a threat to the United States national security, and Project Sign absorbed the Blue Team project. This was a U.S. Air Force and CIA project. Number 11, Project Red Light. This project was to test and fly recovered alien craft. So this project Red Light was they were trying to fly the alien craft. This project was postponed after every attempt resulted in the destruction of the craft and the death of the pilots. So we couldn't fly the extraterrestrial crafts, and that's probably because the extraterrestrials craft are biosynthetic, right? So they respond, they're like organic. And from my understanding, from everybody that's ever had a contact or been in contact with extraterrestrials, they fly the craft with their thoughts and their mind. So that's probably why we had so many crashes and deaths of our own military pilots. We're not advanced enough to control things with our mind. Okay, so this project was postponed after every attempt resulted in the destruction of the craft and the death of the pilots. The project was carried out at Area 51 in Nevada. Code name, or what people call it, it's called Dreamland, which is Area 51. Project Red Light was resumed in 1972. This project has been partially successful. UFO sightings of the craft accompanied by black helicopters are Project Red Light assets. So these are the man-made craft. That's why there's, many people are saying that the majority of the spacecraft that you see that looks extraterrestrial is ours. And then there's a small percentage that it's not. So the project is now ongoing at Area 51. Again, this was 20, 30 years ago, so they probably changed locations. Number 12, Project Snowbird was established as a cover for the Project Red Light. A quote-unquote flying saucer type craft was built using conventional technology. It was unveiled to the press and flown in public on several occasions. The purpose was to explain the accidental sightings or disclosures of the red light as having been a snowbird craft. This was a very successful disinformation operation. This project is only activated when needed. This deception has not been used for many years. This current project is currently in mothballs until it is needed again. Number 13, Project Blue Book. This was a U.S. Air Force UFO and alien intelligence collection and disinformation project. This project was terminated and its collected information and duties were absorbed by Project Aquarius. A classified report named Grudge Blue Book, Report 13, is the only significant information derived from the project and it is not available to the public, from what I've read from prior sources. This report, number 13, talked about everything inside the Grudge history. Then you have the Magic's contingency plans. In 1949, MJ-12 evolved into initial plans of contingency called MJ 1949, and I won't give you the rest. That was to make allowance for the public disclosure of some sort of data if the necessity presented itself. General Doolittle made a prediction that one day we would have to reckon with the aliens. And Grudge Blue Book, report number 13, stated that it appeared that General Doolittle was correct. The Grudge Blue Book report number 13 also mentions that the document stated that many military government personnel and civilians have been terminated. The word terminated means murdered. Murdered without due process of law when they had attempted to reveal the secret. Plan A, contain or delay release of information. This plan called for the Majestic 12 as a disinformation ploy to delay and confuse the release of information should anyone get too close to the truth. It was selected because the similarity of spelling and the similarity to the MJ-12. So what they're trying to say is Majestic 12 is different than MJ-12. They're two different groups. It was designed to confuse memory and to result in the fruitless search for material which did not exist, i.e., William Moore's documents. Plan B. Should the information become public or should the aliens take over? This plan called for a public announcement that a terrorist group had entered the United States with an atomic weapon. It would be announced that the terrorists planned to detonate the weapon in a majority city, or excuse me, in a major city. Martial law would be declared, and all persons with implants would be activated by the aliens. That person, in this specific case, would be rounded up by magic along with all dissidents and would be placed into concentration camps. The press, the radio, and TV would be nationalized and controlled. Anyone attempting to resist would be arrested or killed. Now, supposedly the aliens, when they abduct you, they insert an implant, and we've seen cases where people have doctors, x-ray them, and they have these weird, it looks like to be, some type of technology in their skin. So, magic secret weapon against the aliens. Although better weapons are being developed every day, the following are a few of the originals created. Project Gabriel. Gabriel is a project to develop a high-frequency pulse sound generating weapon. So again, mind you, this is 30 years ago. 40. Wait, this was he went into hiding in 1990. So let's say he released this in the 80s. He leaked this in the 80s to someone. So over 30 years ago. And he's talking about low frequency. He's talking about directed energy weapons back then. So low frequency pulsed. Wait, let me see. Okay. So although better weapons are being developed every day, the Project Gabriel developed a high frequency pulse sound generating weapon. It was said that this weapon would be effective against the alien crafts. We already know that. They could beat down with electromagnetic pulses and their beam weapons. Specifications about the Gabriel project shows high frequency microwave projections are included. Project Joshua is a project to develop a low frequency pulse sound generating weapon. The weapon was developed and assembled at Lingo Temco Vought in Anaheim, California. It was described as being able to totally level any man-made structure from a distance of 2 miles. It was tested at the White Sands Proving Grounds. It was developed between 75 and 1978. It is a long horn-shaped device connected to a computer and amplifiers. Ling Temco Vault Ltd. has since moved from its Anaheim facility, which was near the Grand Hotel, across the street from Disneyland. Specifications about the Joshua project show low frequency generated with microwave projection included. Project Excalibur. The Excalibur is a weapon to destroy the alien underground bases. It is to be a missile capable penetrating 1,000 meters of hard packed soil, such as that found in New Mexico, with no operational damage. The missile apogee is not to exceed 30,000 feet above ground level, and impact must not be deviate in excess of 50 meters from the designated targets. The device will carry a 1 to 10 megaton nuclear warhead. The secret for a self-contained missile drill. A vertical shaft over 1,000 meters deep consists of energizer microwave deflector in the missile warhead. The OBS. OBS Magic has 5 other weapons to use against aliens, but I don't have the data on those weapons. The information from Inside Grudge and Blue Book report is that the EBE, or the EBE, is the name of the designation given to a live alien captured. This alien was captured in 1947 in Roswell. He died in captivity. The EBE means extraterrestrial biological entity. The Krill was the first alien ambassador to the United States of America. So that's a name of one of the aliens, Krill, or KRLL. The guests were aliens exchanged for humans. So we exchange humans for other aliens to stay with us. The exchange for humans who gave us the balance between the Yellow Book. At the onset in 1972, there were only 3 aliens left alive. Now we have around 4,000 aliens. They were called alien life forms, or ALFs, or OBS. They have a big tendency to lie. So some of these aliens are liars, no different than humans. The Yellow Book is all that we know about alien technology, culture, and their history. Ooh, I would love to get myself a, a little glimpse at that Yellow Book. Religion. So their religion, the aliens believe in the universal cosmic God. So they believe, the majority of the aliens believe in God. The aliens claim that men are hybrids who were created by them. They claim our religions were created by them to hasten the formation of the civilized culture and to control the human race. They claim that Jesus was a product of their efforts. Okay, so this is what what they state the aliens are claiming. They claim that Jesus was a product of their efforts. The aliens have furnished proof of their claims and have a device that allows them to show audibly and visually any part of the history that they wish to see, or they wish us to see. This is interesting because we talk about the Vatican's chronovision, or the chronovisor, which allowed, supposedly, this is also per Andrew Biziago, supposedly this allows us to see ancient history, and I don't know if we can see the future with it, but it allows us to see the past. So the alien bases exist in Four Corners area of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. 6 bases were described in 1972. All are on Indian reservations and all in the Four Corner area. The base near Dulce was one of them. They also have bases in California, Nevada, Texas, Florida, Maine, Georgia, and Alaska. Craft recoveries. The document stated that many craft had been recovered. The early ones from Roswell, Aztec, Roswell, and Texas. So Roswell, Aztec, Roswell again, Texas, Mexico, and other places, which will be discussed later. The abductions. Abductions were occurring long before 1972. Early civilizations referred to these incidents. The document stated that humans and animals were being abducted and or mutilated. Well, I haven't heard about mutilated humans. I've heard about mutilated cows, but not humans. Many vanished without a trace. They were taking sperm and ova samples. They took tissues and performed surgical operations and implanted a spherical device 40 to 50 microns in size near the optic nerve in the brain. And all attempts to remove the device have resulted in the death of the patient. The document estimated that 1 in every 40 people had been implanted. This is also what the Nazis were doing in the 40s too, with the MK Ultra and MK Naomi and all the MKs. They were implanting the MK Ultra children and people that were in the program with implants. This implant was said to give the aliens total control of the human. Other magic alien report 13. We confirmed in 1989 the existence of alien crafts at a hangar on Edwards Air Force Base. This hangar is at the north end of the base. It has been guarded by non Edwards personnel who are NRO Delta personnel. The guards wear a badge that is red with a black triangle. This is so funny. I've drawn the black triangle with the red on it. The black triangle on the face of the badge. No one was allowed near the hangar without this badge. And then it gives you a description of the triangle, the symbol. The personnel are no longer guarding the hangar. Edward security forces are guarding it now, and they are instructed to check the hangar each hour and report the status. In addition, they have been instructed never to enter the hangar, even if it has been broken into. The hangar is still locked, and no one is allowed inside without special authorization. We also have confirmed the existence of alien materials at another special hangar in Edwards Air Force Base. The badge insignias that are on the same alien craft and alien flags is called the trilateral insignia or the triad. And then they show the insignias of what's on the spacecraft. And then they show another insignia that marks the bases and the landing sites for them. This symbol is visible only when viewed from directly overhead. This symbol is found on some Regalian spacecraft and their uniforms. And also, if you go on Google Earth, you can still find in the desert, you can find pyramids. I found the pyramid. I don't know if I still have the location, but somebody had found it a long time ago, and then I looked for it and I found it. There's a pyramid. It's a huge pyramid in the, I don't know where, if it's in Nevada or New Mexico or in California, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And it's such a strange thing. You can only see it from the sky. So if you want to go on a treasure hunt, go on Google Earth and try to find this pyramid in the West Coast. This symbol is found on some Regalian spacecraft and their uniforms. The Luna 2, which is the code name for a location of the second most important underground Regalian base, is in New Mexico. This base is alien controlled and alien protected. Luna is ongoing. The far side of the moon is a term used in reference to inside the Luna 2 or the Luna 2 underground base. Ufologists and some other various people have stumbled upon this term and have misunderstood it and believe that it was a reference to Luna 1, the moon base. The National Security System, the NSA, was created to protect the secretly recovered flying disc and eventually got complete control over all communication intelligence. This control allows the NSA to monitor any individual through the mail, telephone, telefax, telegrams, and now online computers, monitoring private and personal communications as they choose. In fact, the president of the NSA, the present day NSA, is a current main expression of MJ-12 and the PI-40, which is pertaining to the flying saucer programs. Vast amounts of disinformation are spread throughout the UFO research field. Any witnesses to any aspect of the programs have their lives monitored in every detail, for each has signed a security catch. Shit. For people who have worked in the program, including military members, breaking that oath could have any one of the following direct consequences. One is a verbal warning accompanied by a review of security oath. Two, a stronger warning, sometimes accompanied by a browbeating and intimidation. Three, a psychologically working on an individual to bring on depression that will lead to suicide. They're doing that now with directed energy weapons, voice to skull, remote neuromonitoring, neuro oscillations. So if you guys haven't done the research on that, I suggest you do so. I'll repeat it again. Remote neuromonitoring, neuro oscillations, voice to skull. 4, murder of a person, which is made to appear as suicide or an accident. 5, strange and sudden accidents, always fatal. 6, confinement in a special detention center. 7, confinement in an insane asylum, where they are treated by mind control and deprogramming techniques, MK Ultra. I'm sure that's what they do. The individuals are later released with changed personalities, identities, and altered memories, and probably quote unquote multiple personalities. Next, bringing the individual into the inside where he or she is employed and works for them, and where he or she can be watched. This is usually in closed facilities with little contact with the outside world. This would be underground facilities, are the places that they're usually taken to. Any individual who they perceive to be close to the truth will be treated in the same manner. MJ12 and the NSA will go to any length to preserve and protect the ultimate secret, as we will see later. The characteristics of what this ultimate secret would turn out to be would change drastically, for it was something even MJ12 and NSA could not predict. The actual contact with alien groups. How the actual contact between the government and the aliens was initiated or initially made is not known at this time, but the government was made aware that it could be done by an alien using the right equipment. The facts about the aliens that are on Earth. After all these years of research, we have compiled these major facts about aliens on Earth. 1. Alien crafts from other worlds have crashed on Earth. 2. Alien crafts are from both ultra-dimensional sources and sources within this dimension. So they're coming from a different dimension into our dimension with their crafts. And then some of them are from our plane. 3. Early US government efforts at acquiring technologies were successful. 4. The US government has had live alien hostages at some point in time. 5. The US government has conducted autopsies on alien cadavers. 6. US intelligence agencies and security agencies are involved in the cover-up of facts pertaining to the situation. 7. People have been and are currently being abducted, mutilated, murdered, and kidnapped as a result of the UFO situation. 7. Alien forces maintain... Hold on. No. 8. There's a current alien presence on this planet amongst us that control different elements of our society. The next one is alien forces maintain bases on Earth and on the moon. The US government has had a working relationship with alien forces for some time now, with the express purpose of gaining technology in gravitational propulsion, beam weaponry, that's directed energy weapons, and mind control. Millions of cattle have been killed in the process of acquiring biological materials. Both aliens and the US government are responsible for these mutilations, but for different reasons. We live in a multidimensional world that is overlapped and visited by aliens and entities from other dimensions. Many of those entities are hostile. I would assume the lower level vibrations entities and lower vibration aliens. Some of these entities are hostile and many are not hostile. So the majority are not hostile, some are. The basis for our genetic development and religions lies in the intervention by non-terrestrial and terrestrial forces. The truth about our actual technology far exceeds that which we perceive, that is perceived by the public. The United States space program of today is a cover operation that exists for the public relations purpose. People are being actively killed in order to suppress the facts about the situation. The CIA and the NSA are involved so deeply that exposure would cause collapse of their overt structure. Facts indicate alien presence within 5 to 10,000 years. So they've been around for 5 to 10. It's been longer, but 5 to 10,000 years. Our civilization is one of many that have existed in the last billion years. And this is in the Milky Way period. So, Milky Way time period. Alien psychology, they're going to get into that in the next few pages. The metagene factor, they're going to get into that in the next few pages. They talk about the main UFO crashes and ultra secret cover ups. New Mexico between 1947 and 1948, Roswell, San Augustine Flats, Aztec, the California Desert, 1952, Sonora Desert, Mexico, 1955. So these are all the crashes. Everglades, Florida, 1959, Daytona, Texas, 1961, Mato Grosso, Brazil, 1966, Salto, Uruguay, 1970, Amazon, Brazil, 1976, Gulf of Mexico, Mexico, 1979, Andes, Argentina, 1979, and then Fairbanks, Alaska, 1981. They're saying that most of the causes were unknown, the reason that they crashed. One of them was one of our radars affected the alien craft. I guess messed with the electromagnetic field, which caused the crash to happen in 1959. And the one in Alaska was a UFO malfunction. Affected by new experimental radar types, the US radar is the basis for the Joshua and the Gabriel defense projects. Of course, there were other crashes, however, I was not sent on those investigations. Again, this is alleged documents, notes from the scientists that were there. Some of other confirmed crashes occurred in Europe, Africa, China, Soviet Union, Australia, just to name a few, with possible other unconfirmed crashes occurring in the Philippines and New Zealand. The extraterrestrial classifications. Some of them are considered guests, meaning they're invited aliens with authorization of the United States government to stay on Earth. So we give them permission that they can stay on Earth. We have visitors that are aliens who have come to Earth for unknown missions. We also have prisoners, aliens that the United States government has captured or other governments have captured. Researcher aliens, which are aliens who have come to Earth for scientific reasons. You have the intruders or the malevolent aliens who are dangerous for our civilization because they don't respect our society. And then you have the neutrals, which are aliens who just observe our civilization and never interfere. You have the colonizers, which are a very small group of aliens who have decided to live amongst us like us. And then you have the interactors, which are small groups of aliens who have decided to interfere with our history, making changes when it's possible. The alien presence on Earth. There are some 160 or more known types of alien visitors to the world, Earth. And that's as of 1990, right? These are the common types that we've come in contact or we've learned about. Everybody knows about the gray types. The grays, type 1. The regalians from the regal star system and are approximately 4 feet tall with a large head. So they're 3.4 feet tall with large heads containing large slanted eyes. They worship technology and they don't care about us. So that's what they worship. They worship technology. The type popularized in the Communion book by Stryber. They need vital secretions for their survival, which they are getting from us earthlings. Then there's the grays type 2. These grays come from Zeta Reticuli, 1 and 2 solar systems. Same general appearance as type 1, although they have a different finger arrangement and a slightly different face. These grays are more sophisticated than the type 1s. They possess a degree of common sense and are somewhat passive. They don't require secretions that the type 1s do. Then you have the grays type 3. These are clones, simple cloning forms of types 1 and 2 above. Their lips are thinner, or they have no lips, depending on who cloned them. They are subservient to the type 1 and 2 grays above. Then you have what they call the Nordics, the blondes, and the Swedes. These are known by any of these names. They're similar to us. They're blonde hair, blue eyes. Some have dark hair and brown eyes, and they are shorter in height. They will not break the law or they will not break the law of non-interference to help us. They will only intervene if the Gray's activities were to affect us directly. The Nordic clones, they appear similar to us but with a gray tinge of their skin. These Nordics are controlled drones. They were created by the Greys type 1. That's scary. They can make other aliens or clones that look like us almost. That's trippy. Then you have the intradimensional. You have the dimensional, which are not paraterrestrial. These entities can assume a variety of shapes, basically of peaceful nature. Oh, I like those intradimensionals. You have the short humanoids, 1.5 to 2 feet tall. They have bluish skin and color. They are seen quite frequently in Mexico in Chihuahua. You have hairy dwarfs, which are orange. They are 4 feet tall and they weigh about 35 pounds. Their hair is the color red. They seem to be neutral and respect intelligent life forms. You have the very tall ones, the race that look to be 7 to 8 feet tall. They are united with the Swedes, so they can look German. It's basically, or Swedish. You have the Men in Black or the MIBs. They are not from the Delta or the NRO division of the government. They are Oriental or olive skinned. Their eyes are sensitive to light and have vertical pupils. They have very pale skin on some types. They do not conform easily to our social patterns. Usually they wear black clothes, sometimes all white or gray clothes. They wear sunglasses and drive black cars. They're in groups. In groups, they all dressed alike. Sometimes they are sometimes time disoriented. They cannot handle psychological curveballs or interruption of their plans. They very often intimidate UFO witnesses and impersonate government officials. They're the equivalent of our CIA from another galaxy. That's funny because every time somebody talks about a man in black or a person that's in a suit in black, they always say that they talk weird and they walk weird and they look weird. General chronology: in the middle of 1963, a series of livestock attacks occurred on Haskell County, Texas. This is a typical case where an Angus bull was found with his throat slashed and a saucer-sized wound in the stomach. The local population attributed the attacks to a wild beast. We've heard about these cases where you see the ranchers have their livestock killed with like laser weapons or some type of weapon. Throughout the following decade, there would be sporadic reports of similar attacks on livestock. In 1967, the most prominent of these infrequent reports was the mutilation death of Snippy the horse in southern Colorado, which at the time was accompanied by accounts of UFOs or unidentified helicopters. So it could be government or the quote unquote alien. And then they talk about the ranchers and their mutilations, 1980s. Uh, Supposedly over 10,000 animals were killed in the United States alone. And then they get into the drug connection to these mutilations that could be found in the quote unquote yellow book. We found that the Tehran scientists learned about longevity, secret of long life. The main basis for longevity was the capacity of human cells to recuperate. Anyone will grow old when their cells can't be restored and they start a process of deterioration and die. The secret of longevity is the restoration of the cells. This can be done using altered adrenaline, altered choradrenaline, or codrazine or codropinex, sometimes used only by formazine or hyronalinx. If you read the Pulsar report or project for additional information on these drugs, you'll find more information on that. All of these drugs have a base in adrenaline, which is produced in the human brain. During the 60s, the scientists discovered that they can be synthesized from the medullary portion of the adrenal gland of the cattle. Ooh, this sounds very familiar. This sounds like adrenochrome. I'm just saying. They need big quantities in order to synthesize a small portion of the mentioned drug above. Of course, human scientists tried to discover new applications and synthesize the drugs for recuperation of the cells, especially brain cells, and restoration to the human tissues. And they also use it for increasing psychic and physical human skills. Maybe this is why the Hollywood does this kind of stuff, huh? My general personal observations. Any investigation which intends to probe the systematic occurrences of the mutilation attacks upon livestock and other animals must include within its preview certain factors which may or may not be directly related to the acts of mutilation themselves. These mutilations, the killings, and the furtive removal of external or internal parts have been directed at literally thousands of animals, primarily livestock, since the 1960s. The surgery on these animals is primarily conducted with uncanny precision and suggesting the use of a highly sophisticated implements and techniques. The numbing and persistent regularity of the mutilations and the seemingly casual disposal of the useless carcasses all hints at extreme confidence, even arrogance, of the mutilators. It is an arrogance which appears to be justified by the freedom of impunity with these acts which have been carried out. My general observation, human reasons for mutilations. These events or discussions of them is just the precursor to the actual revelations of what is behind the mutilations. Alien acquisition of biological material for their own use. To discuss this in a logical and sequential manner, we must review what has been really happening right under our noses. The direct interaction with extraterrestrial biological entities, EBEs. To discuss that, however, we must attempt to start at the beginning with what we know to be true. Other observations, alien reasons for the mutilations. The main interest of aliens, we talk specifically about the regalians, is breeding. They're breeding with humans, of course. They need the cattle's tissue because they have the same charon cells as the human beings at the genetic levels. All incisions would be made by the replicas, clones, or androids. They can send teams and take the material they need, and it doesn't matter where or how much. If they need it, they just take it. This means that the regalians are not vampires or that they need it for survival, but just immoral scientists that need material for experiments. We really don't know what is worse. The black helicopter's involvement, the pertinence of the specific element of the problem is shortly revealed in the course of any thorough investigation. We refer to the appearance of unmarked, otherwise unidentified helicopters with spatial and temporal proximity of the animals mutilating sites. The occurrence of the two has been persistent enough to supersede coincidence. So, does that mean that they're being protected by the government while they're doing this? These military helicopters, or mystery helicopters, excuse me, are almost always without identifying markings, or markings may appear to have been painted over or covered. The helicopters are frequently reported flying at abnormal, unsafe, illegal altitudes. They may shy away if witnesses or law officers try to approach. There are several accounts of aggressive behavior on the part of the helicopter occupants, which witnesses chased, buzzed, hovered over, or even fired upon. At times, these choppers appear very near mutilation sites, even hovering over a pasture where the mutilated carcass is later found. They may be observed shortly before or after the mutilations occur, or within days of mutilation. The intention here is merely to stress that the mystery helicopters did not develop concurrently with the animal mutilations themselves. Such helicopters, unmarked, flying at low levels, soundless, or sounding like helicopters, have been reported for years and have been linked to an even more widespread phenomenon, the quote unquote phantom fixed wing aircraft. As far as Tom Adams is concerned, the answer could be a combination of the above explanations. Okay, so I will end it now because it can continue. We can get into the Antarian connections. There's so much more. They start talking about the different species, uh, the crop circles phenomenon, the first dimension, the second dimension, the third dimension, the fourth dimension, the dimension of density, the dimension of volume. Um, they get into the dimension of time, the dimension of parallel universes, the fifth dimension. So I'll go into that tomorrow because it starts getting more interesting now. And let me see what else they get into tomorrow. What else we'll get into tomorrow? They talk about light frequency. They talk about particle acceleration devices, the reality of things, the what particles are, how the acceleration of particles um, semi-stabilize our reality. Let's see here. They talk about the bases, all the companies that are involved. And then they start giving you sketches of the aliens. All right, guys. Come back tomorrow for Blue Planet Project UFO Technology Part 2, where we get into the dimensions and the race of the aliens. If you want to support, head on over to PayPal, Patreon, or Cash App. Or if you want to send the Bitcoin, that would be fine. All the links are in the description. Stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.